Welcome to Novel Navigator, where every story is an adventure waiting to unfold. If you're a fan of powerful plots, unforgettable characters, and immersive narration, you've just found your new favorite destination. If you enjoy the story, please like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends and family. Your support helps keep these stories alive and growing. This is Novel Navigator, guiding you through worlds of imagination, one chapter at a time. Chapter 61. Noble Status. There were many different types of status in the divine world. Every player began as an adventurer, the lowest status possible. To rise up in status, players must not only rigorously complete missions requested by the NPCs, but they must also achieve some meritorious service to be eligible for a promotion. However, the promotion from adventurers to the new status was not of noble rank, but merely that of a citizen status. Nevertheless, citizen status was still more important than adventurers, given that citizen status means that they have been acknowledged as a resident of the said area or region. To simplify things, the ranks are listed from bottom to top: adventurer, citizen, baron, submayor, mayor, lord, viscount, earl, marquis, and duke. Adventurer rank is universal, meaning it applies everywhere, but the rest of the status is dependent on the scope of limitation. Thus, to be promoted to 2 status levels and granted the highest authority, Su Feng was naturally pleased by the result. His baron status was directly under the jurisdiction of the Etheria Empire, and not just some towns. Receptionist Sandy, is this status also given to the other members who completed the raid along with me? Su Feng quickly asked, inquiring the details if he was the only recipient or if there were many more. Sandy smiled lightly as she shook her head. I'm afraid that's not the case, adventurer, Baron Lin Feng. This reward is exclusive to you, having gained the recognition of herbalist Elias. Her addressment towards Su Feng had subsequently changed as well, going as far as using a more polite tone now that Su Feng was granted a noble status. His nobility now could be said to have reached a new height, especially when it had gone over the scope of Riverwood Town. Even the town mayor would have to be respectful despite the actual rank being higher than a baron by 2. After all, a town mayor's jurisdiction was only within the town, but Su Feng's status surpassed the town. That's quite unfortunate then. Su Feng feigned a regrettable tone, showing a gloomy expression. However, inwardly, he was cheering and laughing in joy. To be able to monopolize this noble status for himself was amazing. Herbalist Elias was indeed not wrong to have praised you highly. Although it's regrettable that only you have received this status, our Riverwood town is happy to spread your achievement along with your guild members to other nearby towns. Sandy informed him. As much as Su Feng wanted to reject this suggestion, given it would expose his name further to other players, it was a little bit too late. After all, the crowd outside the dungeon should have been rigorously posting on the game forum without pause. Thus, he nodded his head in agreement with the suggestion and continued with his fake act of compassion and loyalty. There was no hate between him and Gentle Wind, but there was also no way he would give them free benefits either. If they want something this great, then they must pay an equivalent price to obtain it. Herbalist Elias. I really want to give you a hug now if possible. He was grateful to Elias for such an amazing gift. His unexpected gift helped nullify all the punishment that the system had imposed upon him. Comparing temporary experience points losses versus the gain of a noble status was simply too laughable. Anyone in his shoes would choose to have their experience points debuffed in exchange for a noble status. Even if it was only limited to a single town, they would still accept such a thing in a heartbeat. Anyway, Herbalist Elias looked forward to your progress and requested me to inform you to meet him in the Herbalist Association whenever you have the time. Sandy kindly said, I will, and thank you. Su Feng nodded his head. Is there anything else that you'll need my assistance on? He inquired, clearly expecting a mission to be brought forth at this moment. Sure enough, Sandy's eyes lit up as she nodded her head. Indeed, there are some that our town needs assistance with. There has been an insurgency lately with former mercenaries unsatisfied with the towns and have been causing trouble. If possible, please capture them and deliver them to the prison. She revealed, assigning him a mission. System. Receptionist Sandy has informed adventurer Lin Feng of an insurgence undergoing in the shadow. Would you be willing to assist her? An insurgence mission, huh? Su Feng was amused. Insurgence doesn't happen often, but when it does, the rewards are usually quite amazing. Not to mention, this kind of mission was to guarantee a reputation increase and possible rapport gain from unknown NPCs. Of course, with great rewards naturally comes great risk. Insurgence was usually filled with enemies that were at least 2 to 5 levels above the normal players. After all, the difficulty wouldn't be set in easy mode. If that was the case, then what was the point of hiring them to do the work when they could have handled it? Pondering for a brief moment, Su Feng readily accepted the mission without hesitation. It'll be my honor to assist the Riverwood town in such a crisis. He responded, acting righteous as he clicked on the yes from the system prompt. Great. They'll look forward to your success, Baron Linfo. Sandy clasped her hands, seemingly grateful that he had accepted the mission. Given your noble status, you are allowed to take 2 items in our vault to assist you. The 2 items would be yours to keep if the mission is successful. She added, giving him some benefit already. Feigning a shocked expression, Su Feng smiled sheepishly and thanked Sandy sincerely. If it weren't for the Baron status, then I really wouldn't dare to accept an insurgent's mission this quickly, he exclaimed inwardly. During those brief moments of thinking, he had already set up a plan in his mind. Otherwise, it would be foolish of him to accept a mission without thinking of the consequences. Chapter 62. Vault following closely behind Sandy, Su Feng made sure to remain inconspicuous. He waited until most of the players had left and told Sandy to pretend that she was assisting him in turning over some mission. To have Sandy agree to it, Su Feng made up a lie that there could be possible spies hidden in the town hall, so they must remain casual. Despite being somewhat clever and more human than most NPCs, Sandy was still quite easy to be deceived. Of course, that should be attributed to my great charm and persuasiveness, right? Su Feng thought to himself, feeling quite narcissistic. He soon regained his composure and stopped having such silly thoughts once Sandy brought him to the entrance of the vault. Here we are, Baron Linfeng, Sandy introduced, not bothering to lower her volume now that they were somewhat alone. The vault was located in a discreet and restricted area. Normal adventurers are barred from setting foot here, and once caught, they would be detained and imprisoned for 3 days in real time. As Sandy activated a mechanism, the heavy wooden door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit chamber filled with rows of shelves and cabinets. The air was cool and musty, hinting at the treasures hidden within. Entering the vault, Su Feng was instantly greeted by the sights of numerous treasures. The shelves were lined with various artifacts and precious items, each carefully cataloged and protected by magical barriers. Gold coins gleamed in the dim light, stacked neatly in piles, while gemstones of all colors sparkled from their settings. Priceless paintings adorned the walls, depicting scenes of mythical creatures and ancient battles. However, what attracted Su Feng the most was the ragged scrolls. These ragged scrolls were nestled among the other treasures, their edges frayed and their parchment yellowed with age. You seemed interested in those ragged scrolls, Baron Lin Feng, Sandy said, upon noticing his attention was distracted by the yellow parchment scrolls. Su Feng nodded his head, not bothering to hide his intention. Indeed, those ragged scrolls are very useful, but it's a shame that I'm only allowed to take 2 items. He smiled bitterly. On the surface, he was flashing a disappointed look, but inwardly, he was praying for Sandy to have a change of heart. Come on, increase the limit of items I can take. Don't you see how bitter and disappointed I look? His acting was extremely realistic, causing Sandy to turn hesitant, almost as if she felt bad about the circumstances. Noticing her subtle expression and movement, Su Feng knew he was very close to his objective. Sigh, the enemies of the insurgency should be numerous. Even if I wished to eradicate them and capture them, the time required would be unimaginable. He lamented, blaming himself for his inadequacy. If Baron Lin Feng only wished to take the ragged scrolls, then am authorized to allow you to pick some more, Sandy said with much difficulty. Yo! Su Feng screamed internally, but kept a calm expression on the surface. Huh? Was that all right? These ragged scrolls are very important and powerful, he asked, sounding uncertain about the arrangement. Yes, the ragged scrolls are indeed difficult to find, but our town still receives distribution of them from the Etheria Empire's top mages. These ragged scrolls are Tier 1 and Tier 2, so it should be fine, she explained. Ragged scrolls are essentially powerful spells that are locked within the yellow parchment papers, and they are ranked individually by their tiers. The higher the tiers, the more powerful the attack was. If only you had shown me this earlier, then I wouldn't have struggled much in the Scorched Caverns. Su Feng thought to himself. Even a Tier 1 ragged scroll was more powerful than a level 10 player. So it goes to show just how rare and important the scrolls are. After all, there are no cooldown restrictions or usage limitations. As long as you have the ragged scrolls, then you can spam it as much as you want. In other words, it was like a machine gun that didn't run out of ammo. One could discern how powerful a machine gun was if it could continuously fire without stopping. Since you've said it, then exactly how much I could bring out? He turned to her and asked, if you're only going to pick Tier 1 scrolls, then I can allow you to choose a maximum of 6. But if you're going to pick only Tier 2 scrolls, then I'm allowed to let you choose 3. Then what if I want a mix of both? If it's a mix of both, then the distribution is 3-to-1, meaning you can choose 3 Tier 1 scrolls and 1 Tier 2 scrolls. Nodding his head, Su Feng realized the options available. Either he chooses 6 Tier 1 scrolls, or he could choose 3 Tier 2 scrolls. And if he can't decide, then he could choose in between. Overall, depending on his choices, he could leave with either 3 scrolls for scrolls or 6 scrolls. It was a difficult choice, to say the least. He might have future memories intact, but he wasn't a know-it-all person. There was no way he could remember all the details precisely, especially when he had never truly dealt with the insurgency other than hearing about it. Can I inspect these scrolls more thoroughly? Su Feng asked. Naturally. Let me help you organize them, Sandy responded, taking out the scrolls and placing them neatly in a row for him to inspect. It's going to take some time, so I hope you don't mind. No worries, you could take your time. He'll wait by the side. With that being said, Sandy promptly stood by the door, trusting him completely. Of course, Su Feng wasn't going to attempt any exploit and secretly stash a few of them in his inventory. The circumstances between here and the Holy Sanctuary were different. If he were to be caught here, then all the good rapports he made with Sandy and Herbalist Elias would crumble in an instant. Ugh, why can't you all be generous and give them all to me if you really want me to assist you? This game is just forcing me into the highest difficulty mode. He sighed inwardly. Chapter 63, 63. Ragged scrolls with all the time given to him to inspect, Su Feng began calculating all types of possibilities in his mind regarding which ragged scrolls would offer him the greatest benefits. Contrary to most belief, these ragged scrolls don't only contain offensive spells, but many other utilities as well. Scroll of Elemental Insight, Scroll of Healing Remedies, Scroll of Shadowcraft, and Scroll of Arcane Lore were among the Tier 1 categories. However, none of these scrolls are offensive. Despite not being offensive, that didn't mean these scrolls were useless. In fact, some of them were even more useful than mere offensive spells that are just 1-time or 3-time uses. This Scroll of Shadowcraft helps unveil the basics of shadow magic. If I learn this, then I can manipulate the darkness subtlety and conceal myself. Su Feng picked up the scroll as he pondered inwardly. As a cleric, his health points were naturally among the lowest possible compared to other classes. Not to mention, his defense attribute was practically non-existent, meaning he would easily be killed if he lost his focus. With that in mind, Su Feng knew he had to eliminate the second choice of choosing only Tier 2 scrolls. After all, he could not afford to give up the chance to dabble with shadow magic. Shadow magic was uncommon, and aside from the scroll in front of him, the only method to learn is through the guidance of someone adept with shadow magic. They're usually learned through the player's class change, but here he could learn it for free. Only an idiot would give up this opportunity. With this scroll chosen, Su Feng proceeded to glance at the scroll of healing remedies. Originally, he didn't plan on dabbling much of the herbology, but with herbalist Elias' sponsor, he would need to study them a bit more. They do say a plan is merely a path, but not one without divergence. He exclaimed inwardly. Now that he had chosen 2 Tier 1 scrolls, Su Feng continued to gloss over the rest. Alas, none were adequate enough for him. They were either offensive spells or utilities unrelated to his class or to his specific needs. Sigh, let's glance at the Tier 2 scrolls then. He murmured, picking each scroll individually and looking at the system information prompt regarding them. Su Feng took his time analyzing. Sometime later, Su Feng found 2 scrolls that interested him dearly: Scroll of Forbidden Arts and Scroll of Divine Blessing. Both scrolls could be considered the polar opposite of each other, with Divine Blessing granting insight into invoking blessing and divine blessing. Meanwhile, the Forbidden Arts would assist him in learning darker magic, offering knowledge of necromancy, blood rituals, and other sinister spells. Damn, is the game trolling me specifically? At this point, Su Feng wondered if he was being trolled. After all, these 2 scrolls were amazing in their own right and would advance his class further. Yet he could only choose one according to the agreement with Sandy. Or he could toss out his previous Tier 1 scroll's decision from earlier and stick with 3 Tier 2 scrolls. Although the scrolls he chose thus far contained 0 offensive spells, Su Feng found them even more valuable. Hence, he was struggling right now with the decision. Frustrated, he turned to Sandy, who had been standing by the door, and asked, "Is it possible to choose 2 Tier 1 scrolls and 2 Tier 2 scrolls?" Unfortunately for him, even if he feigned a pitiful and frustrated expression, Sandy remained firm this time as she shook her head in response. "Apologies, Baron Lin Feng, but these are the rules being set. I can't manipulate it or help you in this aspect," she said apologetically. "Then what if I give up one of the Tier 1 scrolls?" He then asked, clearly trying to find a sweet spot for a deal. Sure enough, Sandy began knitting her brows, seemingly in deep thought. Considering the original deal, what Su Feng did was mitigate the mixed deal. By choosing only 1 Tier 1 scroll and 2 Tier 2 scrolls, he was essentially changing the distribution from 3 to 1 into 2 to 1. This is quite problematic, though. Sandy smiled bitterly and said, clearly in a difficult position, "But shouldn't it be possible since I'm a baron? Like I should at least have this kind of benefit, right? I'm sure you won't get into trouble if you use my new noble status as the shield." Su Feng persuaded her sweetly, going as far as using his nobility status. After what felt like an eternity, Sandy finally sighed softly as she stared at Su Feng intensely. "You really love to make things difficult for me, Baron Lin Feng." She pouted but still nodded her head. "I suppose with your baron status, it should still be possible for you to choose 1 Tier 1 scroll and 2 Tier 2 scrolls. I appreciate your help." Su Feng smiled brightly as he quickly grabbed the scrolls he wanted. It was just a shame that he would need to return the scroll of healing remedies, but sacrifices were needed. If he couldn't even afford to give up something, then he should just quit the game. Meanwhile, Sandy began logging the scrolls that Su Feng had chosen. "You've chosen the Tier 1 scroll, Scroll of Shadowcraft, and the Tier 2 scrolls, Scroll of Forbidden Arts and Scroll of Divine Blessing. Is that your final decision?" she asked, confirming the information with him. Nodding his head, Su Feng responded, "Yes, I've chosen them after much consideration." "Very well, these scrolls now belong to you. I hope they can assist you well with the mission. The town mayor is currently unavailable, but he should return in a few weeks. Hopefully, the crisis is resolved before his return," Sandy suddenly said, revealing some critical information. "A sudden time limit for the mission, huh?" Su Feng was quick to pick up on the hints that were subtly dropped for him. Most players were always impatient and constantly skipping or ignoring the dialogues of NPCs. However, doing that in the divine world was equivalent to asking to be ignorant and missing the crucial information. Chapter 64. Reception as Sandy the Divine World was unlike most games where the mission offered tons of information and guides on how to succeed. Instead, you would need to figure everything out yourself with little to brief information given. though they aren't that harsh either, and as long as you triggered some certain event, you might receive some important information. And just now, Su Feng seemed to have triggered that with Sandy, prompting the latter to reveal that the town mayor was currently not in Riverwood Town. In addition, the town mayor would return in a few weeks, and according to his knowledge, that meant he had around 5 to 7 days. The time zone that NPCs operated on differed from us players, so their few weeks are just 5 to 7 days. As expected, this must be the alternative plotline because of my mitigation in the original deal. Su Feng quickly deduced the reason for the change. Despite knowing he was the reason for the sudden deadline, he had no regrets. After all, Sandy only mentioned that the town mayor would want the crisis to be resolved before his return. This meant that he would still be safe and sound, albeit with the loss of good rapport with the town mayor. In other words, this was an incentive bonus if he was efficient in his mission. Rest assured, Sandy, I won't disappoint you or the town mayor with these scrolls in my hand. Su Feng responded confidently, flashing a bright smile. Great. I hope to see your success as well. There are many people who would like to meet with a competent adventurer, much less someone with a noble status from the Empire. Sandy clasped her hands. System, congratulations to Baron Lin Feng for opening the rapport relationship with receptionist Sandy. Stunned, Su Feng didn't expect Sandy would have a rapport status. Most importantly, the system prompt no longer addressed him as adventurer, but as Baron now. Opening the rapport feature, he wanted to check on Sandy's information. Rapport status with NPC. Receptionist Sandy current rapport level. Amicable recent interactions. Received a noble status from her on behalf of Herbalist Elias. Accepted a mission from Sandy regarding the insurgency rising. Engaged in a friendly conversation about the mission. Notes: Receptionist Sandy seemed to have high hopes for your success in resolving the insurgency. If the player succeeded in the mission before the town mayor's return, it might lead to improved rapport and a bountiful reward. This is unbelievable. Su Feng twitched his brows slightly. What caught his attention was the notes part, in which he might receive a bountiful reward. Instead of saying it might, Su Feng was more inclined to believe it was a guaranteed reward. Otherwise, the system wouldn't have bothered listing that in the notes. A rapport status of an NPC revealed confidential information that could not be found anywhere, and the best part, it was always accurate. Okay, I've confirmed everything and shall return to my post. If you need anything else, it'll be at the receptionist desk, Sandy said once the two of them exited the vault. Su Feng gave a polite response before exiting the town hall, feeling quite confused. Never once did he expect there would be a rapport status for Sandy. I guess it really helps by tipping others generously, he thought to himself, wondering if it activated because of his generous tipping and continuous amicable conversation with her. Glancing at the sky, Su Feng realized his knowledge of the game seemed to be more expansive. There were things he was exploring that he never did or knew about, and for some reason, he was feeling excited. Instead of feeling worried that the game might be developing into something more unknown to him, he was actually anticipating to figure out what other new things he would find. Maybe that was just how a real gamer would feel once they had believed to complete most of the objectives in a game. They would seek more thrilling and difficult events, especially going into excitement once a new update occurred. Well, I guess it isn't so bad, he murmured, being quite optimistic about the situation. He was not a bit worried that new changes could hinder or delay his main objective. After all, he was someone who had gone through numerous crises and difficult obstacles. If he were to falter due to some trivial changes, then he might as well stop trying to get revenge or even challenge the filthy rich. Not to mention, he would have wasted this miraculous chance of returning from the future. As Su Feng began to head toward the Mercenary Association, a place that catered to NPC who worked as a mercenary to gather some information, he received a notification. The notification came from the real world via his smartwatch. By connecting his smartwatch with the divine world, it allowed him to receive notifications on both sides, whether it was the game or the real world. This was another reason why a smartwatch was an essential part of a player who wished to make a living through divine world. Opening the notification, Su Feng noticed the sender was Zhao Kai. Looks like he finally read the messages I've sent. He mumbled, checking on the message. Zhao Kai. Haha. Phone. This game is really immersive. I feel like I've been reborn in another world. Anyway, I checked the map and am in Greenbird Town currently. Greenbird Town, huh? If I recall correctly, there are some players from there migrating to Riverwood Town. Su Feng thought to himself, opening his map as he began to investigate where Greenboard Town was. To his astonishment, the town was extremely far from Riverwood Town, requiring at least 3 teleportation and some more walking to arrive here. These migrators are really risk-takers. He had to praise these players for their courage and determination to come all the way here. If it was him in the past, Su Feng wouldn't have dared to take such a risk that was not only time-consuming, but also potentially dangerous. After all, you could easily be robbed or killed during the trip when you're traveling alone. Chapter 65. Broke having learned that Zhao Kai's current location was Greenbird Town. Su Feng sent a message and asked him to travel to Riverwood Town. Su Feng, can you come over to Riverwood Town as soon as possible? There's no future in Greenbird Town. With the development of the situation, Greenbird Town no longer held much value. Otherwise, the players who originated there wouldn't have spent so much money and time to migrate over to Riverwood Town. This was the harsh reality of the Divine World. Just because both are towns, the differences between them are massive. Alas, the reply from Zhao Kai nearly caused Su Feng to stumble. Zhao Kai, I don't think I can travel there. I'm broke. Su Feng, wait, how are you broke? With 10 copper coins given as a starter, the teleportation would only cost you 1 to 2 copper coins to teleport elsewhere other than your beginner town. Zhao Kai, about that. I saw some goodies, so I purchased some. Goodies? Confused, Su Feng was unable to comprehend his meaning. What kind of items caused I to spend his entire fortune? No, the question should be, what kind of good items would cost 10 copper coins only? Su Feng, what items did you purchase and what are their stats? He would really go insane if Zhao Kai purchased some garbage items and wasted his fortune for naught. Maybe he found a good bargain and the item was amazing. Trying to think positively, Su Feng patiently waited for a response. After a few minutes, Su Feng finally received a response, and the more he read it, the more he wanted to strangle Zhao Kai. Zhao Kai, about that. I was kind of in a rage when I started, so when I walked through the streets, I smelled some good food. I couldn't control myself and bought a lot, filling my stomach to the brim. Su Feng, is that the reason why you said the game is immersive? Not because of the fact that you can control your body as if you live in this world, but the fact that you can feel your hunger subsided upon consuming food. Zhao Kai, yep, sounds about right. Feng, you really know how to summarize my meaning. I give you 3,000 likes. Fuck. Su Feng suddenly cursed in public, causing quite a commotion in his surroundings. As most players paused their tasks temporarily, their attention locking on his Su Feng, he smiled awkwardly in response. Haha, I just lost my auction bid. He quickly gave an excuse for his swearing. Sure enough, the players soon lost interest and returned to their own tasks. TSK, so it's just another loser that lost their bid. Heh, I bet he's broke, and that's why he lost. There's no way he lost because of the time. Ha! Just look at his gears, and you can tell he's not even level 5 yet. The players gossiped among themselves regarding Su Feng's current condition, prompting him to hurriedly leave the scene to avoid being the topic of discussion. Never once had he lost his composure, as much as now. This damn Kai is really one of a kind. Su Feng twitched his mouth, clearly frustrated by his conduct. Who the hell blows their entire fortune away for buying food? Was he really that hungry? Despite feeling frustrated by Zhao Kai, he also needed to praise the latter for discovering something quite early on. The fact that he felt full while eating in the game meant that he subtly discovered that the game could affect reality somewhat. This was not easy to discover despite it being a simple purchase of food and consuming it. After all, Su Feng couldn't think of another person who would purchase the game to buy food to consume. Instead, everyone would be focused on their character stats, missions, levels, and fame. Finding a discreet location, Su Feng double-checked his surroundings to ensure no one else was nearby. Phew, I actually lost my composure and became a laughingstock. He smiled bitterly, clearly not expecting his awesome image to be ruined by a few messages from Zhao Kai. Taking a few seconds to calm his emotions, Su Feng asked Zhao Kai for his username in the game. Luckily, unlike before, Zhao Kai managed to respond swiftly. Shadowblade, huh? How cringe is this name? He thought to himself, not realizing his naming sense was no worse than Zhao Kai either. With the username and the tag that was unique solely to Zhao Kai, Su Feng sent a friend request to him. You should be honored, Kai. So many people want to add me as a friend, but only you managed to be my first. He smirked pridefully. For the people who had been private messaging him, those didn't count since you don't need to be friends to send a message. However, Su Feng was quite positive that most of them wanted to add him as a friend officially. After all, with his extensive knowledge and current resources, only a fool would want to slight him. Sometime later, Zhao Kai accepted Su Feng's friend request once he returned to the divine world, and the first thing he did was video call him. Speechless, Su Feng accepted the video call, which was only available to friends and guild members. And speaking of guild members, Su Feng had already left the guild the moment his business with them was done. Had he remained any longer, he was afraid Gentle Wind might pester him to stay a bit longer. That woman's eyesight near the end of the raid was akin to a predator. She's definitely trying to poach me in her guild, but how can that be possible? He exclaimed inwardly, finding the situation humorous. He was his own boss, but no one else knew that, so it was hilarious to be poached by others from him. All right, speak, where are you? Accepting the video call, Su Feng got straight to the point, directly asking for his whereabouts. Just because they are now friends in the game doesn't mean they could see each other's location. The only thing they could see was whether they were online or not. Chapter 66. Repayment with the video call. Su Feng could see the gears that were on Zhao Kai. To his surprise, Zhao Kai was holstering a gun near his belt, which meant he was a gunner class. Or at least that was what Su Feng had in mind. You picked a gunner class, but call yourself Shadowblade. Just how does your mind function? Su Feng wondered silently, feeling more and more speechless by Zhao Kai's conduct. Okay, stop playing with your gun and tell me your current location already. Annoyed, Su Feng asked once again, having noticed Zhao Kai was being distracted. All right, my bad. It's just that the gun makes me feel cool and authoritative. Zhao Kai scratched his head and laughed aloud, unbothered by his surroundings. Nevertheless, he still opened his map and checked his location. Yes, I'm currently in a place called Verdant Valley. He clasped his hands and answered. Verdant Valley? Su Feng twitched his mouth slightly. Verdant Valley was nowhere near Greenboard Town as it required at least half a day of walk time with his current level and gear. No, the question was, how did he not die when traveling there as a beginner? Did you not encounter any monsters on the way? I'm not sure, Feng. I was just walking around and eating the food I bought. The food was amazing and helped me calm down that I lost track of time and whereabouts. Unbelievable. At this rate, Su Feng wondered if Zhao Kai was the true protagonist. His luck and conduct were so abnormal, yet could make others envy him. Even he did not dare to venture that far to the Verdant Valley, especially with his current gear that needed an extensive upgrade. While Su Feng was pondering how to get Zhao Kai to come over to his town, Zhao Kai suddenly recalled something. Oh right, I forgot something, Feng. The person who sold me the food told me to get to Willowbrook Village to deliver a letter to him in exchange for more food. Do you know where that is? Zhao Kai asked. Meanwhile, Su Feng was stunned on the spot when he heard the name Willowbrook Village. Willowbrook Village was nestled amidst the rolling hills and meandering streams of the countryside, but that kind of description was a disguise. It sounded mundane, but in fact it was located in a discreet place, and without proper authorization, one could not enter there. What made the place important and why he could subtly recall the name was because of the famous blacksmith located there. I struggled so much just to gain some head start, but this lucky bastard stumbled upon a chain mission by purchasing food? Are you joking with me? He screamed internally, wanting to strangle Zhao Kai on the spot. Luckily, his control of facial expression on the surface was near perfection, having remained quite stoic. Since it's a mission, the letter itself should have indicated some hints of the location. He calmly explained to Zhao Kai, Really? Yes. Or don't tell me you never bothered to inspect the letter. Hearing that question, Zhao Kai flashed a cheeky smile, his meaning being quite clear that he had indeed not inspected the letter at all. When did he become such a foodie? Su Feng cried inwardly, wondering if he was still the Zhao Kai he knew. Or maybe this was the consequence of his actions. Had he not attempted to convince him to join the game, then he wouldn't have achieved this. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai used this time to retrieve the letter and indeed noticed some symbols on it. However, he was unable to make heads or tails with the symbols, looking extremely lost and confused. Feng, what does this symbol mean? Zhao Kai turned to him and asked. Forget it. I'll make my way to you, so just send me your coordinate. Su Feng knitted his brows, having given up on trying to have the latter go to him. After all, if he helped Zhao Kai with his mission, then he could possibly use this opportunity to become acquainted with the blacksmith. Gears might be an external factor and should not be relied on heavily, but that doesn't mean one should neglect their gears. Now that the opportunity had arisen for him to come into contact with a famous blacksmith, he would be a fool to not take advantage of it. Sigh, just treat it as a repayment for the punch I gave him earlier. He thought to himself, making it seem as if he was the one returning the favor and not the other way around. His skills were great, but he was limited by the beginner gears that were given to every player at the start. Hence, joining Zhao Kai to assist his mission, as well as to gain some upgrades, would be Su Feng's main objective under the pretext of helping him. It was akin to killing two birds with one stone. What a genius he was! Sometime later, Su Feng received the precise coordinates from Zhao Kai, after having instructed him on how to do so, as well since the latter doesn't know how to do so. With the coordinate now revealed, Su Feng was astonished by his location. Just how the hell is he still alive? He wondered silently, seemingly amazed by Zhao Kai's luck. Zhao Kai was surrounded by a ton of high-level monsters, but he remained unscathed, which goes to show that he somehow managed to avoid them all. Wait, it could possibly be because of the letter in his inventory. Su Feng suddenly paused and thought of a possibility. Maybe it was because he was assigned to deliver a letter that he somehow got an invisible magical protective charm, warding off the monsters. If that's the case, then isn't it suicidal of me to try to meet him there? He twitched his brows. Faking a cough, Su Feng decided to make an excuse. Kai, you are too far away, so we'll meet in the nearest town. You are closer to Oakwood Town, so we'll meet there instead, he said, sending him the coordinate or direction there. Chapter 67. Oakwood Town was a quaint settlement nestled amidst towering oak trees and sprawling farmlands. With simple wooden houses and a bustling marketplace, it served as a welcoming hub for adventurers starting their journey in the divine world. At the teleporter platform, Su Feng subsequently arrived at the town after spending a hefty amount of coins. Ugh, just like that, I lost 6 copper coins in one trip. He sighed inwardly. Although he could be considered wealthy, to lose money like this definitely stung him a bit. After all, he wouldn't have needed to teleport all the way over here had it not been for Zhao Kai. Shaking his head, Su Feng promptly walked to a nearby bench and sat, patiently waiting. As he was waiting patiently, he received a message from Gentle Wind. Gentle Wind. Hello, Lin Feng's boss. I came here to express my gratitude and thanks on behalf of your subordinate. He was excellent. Lin Feng's boss. Express gratitude? What does she want now? Su Feng tilted his head slightly, seemingly confused by her message. Was she here to rejoice in her rewards from the Inferno Tyrant? Given their prior contract, Su Feng didn't take any of the rewards from the Inferno Tyrant. That was despite the fact that some of the loot was amazing. He kept his principles and integrity, honoring the contract. Anonymous user. I suppose guild leader Gentle Wind is enjoying the rewards from the Scorched Caverns. As for gratitude, there's no need for it when we are merely obliged by the contract clauses. He responded somewhat politically, keeping a great distance from her. Just because he assisted her greatly didn't mean he was trying to establish a more thorough relationship with her. Meanwhile, Gentle Wind on the other side was rendered speechless by the somewhat cold response from Su Feng. He sure is putting his guard up. Gentle Wind smiled bitterly. Not surprising. With a capable subordinate like Lin Feng, he would definitely act cautious. Autumn Breeze chimed in from behind. Based on his response, it's clear that he doesn't want to interact much further besides business talk. She added, understanding his intent. Nodding her head in agreement, Gentle Wind also understood the meaning. However, understanding and complying were two different things. If I didn't check on the recording and notice just how many things Lin Feng was secretly doing to prevent casualties, then I wouldn't have mustered up the courage to contact him again. Gentle Wind sighed softly. Previously, her mind was occupied by the bountiful rewards, followed by the enthusiastic cheer from the crowd, prompting her to be unable to review the recording footage. And now that she had somewhat gotten everything under control, she checked on it, only to realize Su Feng had been discreetly buffing and healing her guild members in a timely manner. Without this assistance and great timing, she was positive that the casualties would have been sky high. Well, I have to admit that Lin Feng is extremely adept in his skills, even superior to the clerics under us. But his deduction skill is a little lacking. Autumn Breeze suddenly said. After extensive investigation, Rageheart had indeed betrayed us and was helping your rival, but not Silent Whisper. She was just really timid and terrible that she got mistaken for betraying us. Ahem, we can't blame Lin Feng given the situation back then. Silent Whisper could only blame her bad mechanic skills for being sacrificed, but we will compensate her a bit on behalf of Lin Feng. Gentle Wind faked a cough, defending Su Feng's action. It was definitely not a crime to be terrible at the game, but it surely was if you were terrible enough to be mistaken as sabotaging the team. That was especially true when they were playing at a high-risk difficulty. Therefore, even if Su Feng was half correct in his decision, Gentle Wind had zero intention of blaming him for it. Had it been her who had discovered and found them suspicious, she would have done the same thing. After all, it was better to be safe than sorry. I've already gone ahead to pacify Silent Whisper. When I got there, she was bawling her eyes out and apologizing for being nervous at that moment. Autumn Breeze smiled awkwardly. It's indeed unfortunate for her to be wronged. But anyway, that rival of mine must be feeling like crap right now. Huh, your rival is being reprimanded hard according to my spy. Even the board directors this time were overwhelmingly disappointed at him and were praising you. These board directors are just a bunch of useless old men that got lucky with their purchase of shares. Once I have enough shares, they'll turn the table on them. Gentle Wind snickered coldly. She then turned to Autumn Breeze and flashed a coy and docile expression. Zhao Xian, when will you stop your behavior and help this little sister out? Zhao Xian, not good. She's doing it again. Autumn Breeze exclaimed inwardly, retreating a few steps. Didn't you say to only call us by username and not by real name? Autumn Breeze, otherwise known as Zhao Xian, responded. Oh, come on, my big sister Zhao Xian. There's only us two here and no one else. Won't you help this pitiful little sister out? Gentle Wind latched herself onto Autumn Breeze, flashing a cheeky smile. You're playing rogue, Qingro. Autumn Breeze screeched, trying her best to push her face away from her. Alas, Gentle Wind was like a leech, unable to be removed easily no matter how hard she mustered her strength. If playing rogue will get you to help me, then I don't mind. Gentle Wind smirked. My dear and lovely Xian, you have full control of the Zhao enterprise. Also, haven't I been indulging in you to act willfully and naive despite your actual capability? Speechless, Autumn Breeze knew she was caught in her trap this time. Ugh, if I help you, then how are you going to justify yourself? Don't forget, your father would definitely complain to my father at that time for intruding in your family business. She softly explained. Chapter 68, 68. Tides has turned Zhao Xian, commonly known as Autumn Breeze in the game, was actually the heiress to the Zhao enterprise. Her personality and behavior contrasted deeply compared to how she was in the real world in game. Not only was she extremely fierce and domineering in the real world, but she was also the person in complete control of the enterprise. Her father, Zhao Liang, was even sidelined, given Zhao Zin's grandfather, Zhao Guofu, doting on her and trusting her completely. My grandfather dotes on me and even transfers all his shares to me, but I can't do things that disappoint him. If your father, Feng Jian, complains to him, then it wouldn't look good for you. Zhao Xian calmly explained the situation. Naturally, she would be happy to assist her, But if she did, then the situation would technically worsen for Feng Qingro instead. The Zhao Enterprise and Feng Enterprise had a cooperative relationship, so it would be impolite of her to intervene in the Feng Enterprise, given her unique identity. After all, it could easily be maliciously used by others to spread rumors of Zhao Xin wanting to swallow the Feng Enterprise. Such a malicious rumor would definitely cause unimaginable chaos, and even her grandfather might start to question her motive. You should know that my grandfather will still believe me, but those brothers of mine would definitely make a mess. They've been trying to drag me down all along. Zhao Xin smiled bitterly. Meanwhile, Feng Qingro remained silent for a few minutes. What Zhao Xin said was a warning to her and the consequences of their actions. And it wasn't the first time Zhao Xin had mentioned this specific matter. As much as she wanted to assist her, the multi-thread line of the relationship was complicated and involved too many things. Of course, I know about it, Xin. You told me this a long time ago, and that's why you could only assist me through virtual games to help me gain a foothold. But this time, it's different. The Divine World is not just a simple virtual game. Feng Qingro released her grip on Zhao Xin and said, her expression resolute. The Divine World immersion is completely different from the other virtual games, and I can feel its impact in this world is going to be immense. It's only a matter of time before everyone realizes the potential of the Divine World. Hence, I must use this time to grasp the opportunity fiercely. Hearing her declaration, Zhao Xin remained silent. How could she not understand Feng Qingrou's emotions? Her brothers were exactly replicants of her, albeit minus the hideous appearance and despicable demeanor. They were all trying their best to gain authority. Are you positive that you want me to intervene now? Zhao Xin asked in a solemn tone, void of her previous playful and childish expression. It was as if she had undergone a huge transformation, turning into a domineering and fierce person. Feng Qingro flashed a determined expression as she nodded her head. The tide has turned with the recent success of clearing the Scorched Cavern's Hell Mode difficulty. The Silver Wind Guild earned explosive popularity, and the board directors are finally recognizing my ability. If I don't act now, then I will lose the chance. Very well, they'll give you some of the capital funds to fight, as well as giving you some of my trusted subordinates. Not just that, Xin. Feng Qingro suddenly smiled. I also want your vast network and ability to search for this Lin Feng. With his skills, as long as I can employ him under my guild, I can definitely earn more merits. Now you're just asking for an impossible task. Zhao Xin rolled her eyes. The security of the Divine World is so strong that even my greatest hacker can infiltrate. In fact, he nearly went into a coma from an unexpected electricity shock. She added, stating that it was completely impossible to track Lin Feng. Looks like the only option is still this anonymous user who continues to keep his identity a mystery. Feng Qingro sighed softly, feeling helpless. Rest assured, I can just play rogue and shameless to get Lin Feng. Zhao Xin suddenly grinned. Don't forget, no one knows my real identity except you, and I love to relax when playing games. Right, you are the best. Xin Feng Qingro clasped her hands joyfully, having forgotten Zhao Xin's eccentric style. Despite managing a large enterprise and being aloof in the real world, she preferred to relax in the game instead. To her, it was a breather and a relaxing day where she could escape putting a strong front for others. Maybe in a way, Zhao Xin herself was also quite similar to Feng Qingrou's situation. Both needed to put a strong front to avoid being underestimated or looked down upon. All right, stop sulking now and go back to your work, Qingro. You still have the guild recruitment and planning your next steps in the Divine World. I'm sure Harold Fist is already rushing to level up hard to reach a city first. Zhao Xin kindly warned her while opening her message feature. What about you then? Feng Qingro responded with a question of her own. Don't you need to deal with your businesses? I've already finished them. Zhao Xin snickered and waved her hands. All right, don't bother me. I'm going to contact Lin Feng now. She added. When did you get his contact? Startled, Feng Qingro was surprised her bestie was able to obtain his contact. Even she was unable to, given the circumstances and unfortunate timing. I got his contact when he decided to split us into 3 teams. I pestered him like crazy to get him to open a conversation with me. Zhao Xin flashed a proud smile on her face, completely void of her previous serious demeanor. Ah, you really are like a rogue. Despite saying that, Feng Qingro gave her a thumbs up. Meanwhile, back on the bench at Oakwood Town, Su Feng was rendered speechless when another person contacted him. Just what is this play? After the big boss, now the mini-boss decided to show up? He murmured, seemingly in disbelief that he was contacted repeatedly by gentle wind and autumn breeze. Chapter 69. Poaching. Sitting by the bench, Su Feng was getting a headache, believing he was being poached by 2 people simultaneously. There's no way these 2 who are like peas in one pod would message coincidentally at the same time. He fixed his glasses and opened up the message. Autumn breeze. Hi, Lin Feng. The raid ended in a success. So shouldn't we have celebrated for the aftermath, instead of sneakily leaving? And here I thought I was shameless enough. He twitched his brows, having underestimated how shameless Autumn breeze could be. Did she really take him for an idiot or a fool? Just what kind of excuse was that? No, maybe it wasn't an excuse, but her indirect manner of asking him to show up and stop hiding. Taking a deep breath, Su Feng finally realized that this autumn breeze looked simple on the surface, but was actually quite the schemer underneath. Damn, this woman is really nefarious, he exclaimed inwardly. Not only was she indirectly telling him to show up, but she was also saying how heartless and dishonorable he was by sneakily leaving without a word. She's even more difficult to interact with compared to Gentle Wind. Su Feng pondered long and hard on how to respond to the message. If only he didn't open the message, then he could have kept it there without the need to read it. However, now that he did, and it was marked as read, he was sure Autumn Breeze also noticed it. Thus, even if he attempted to change the status to unread, it was already too late, and doing so might even give her another leverage to screw him over. After pondering long and hard, Su Feng decided to play rogue as well. Lin Feng, who are you? Since Autumn Breeze obtained his contact through constant pestering, there was no point in going anonymous with her. Luckily, the Divine World was quite lax in this aspect and allowed users to go anonymous or not with different players. His response to her trap question could have been said to be a textbook answer. By pretending to not recognize you. What charges can you accuse me of? Sure enough, the advantage soon returned to him when Autumn Breeze was forced to explain who she was. Autumn Breeze, you are really heartless, Lin Feng. How could you forget about me when we literally completed the raid together just recently? Lin Feng, right, yes, my bad. What do you want? Autumn Breeze, our Silver Wind Guild is now experiencing exploding popularity because of your contribution, so we wanted to have a celebration. Lin Feng, it'll have to pass. My boss just assigned me a new task, so I can't afford to idle around. You wanted a celebration? More like you wanted to poach me. Su Feng exclaimed inwardly, having understood her intention rather quickly. After all, it was a common tactic to use celebration as a disguise to conceal their true intention. Had he attended the celebration, then they would surely bring up the topic of recruiting him to their guild. Having experienced what it meant to be discarded like a stray dog, Su Feng would rather kill himself than allow himself to suffer that kind of path again. Even if Autumn Breeze and Gentle Wind weren't such people, Su Feng still wouldn't place his bet on them. The only person he could trust was himself. A few minutes had gone by, and Autumn Breeze hadn't yet responded, proving his response was concise and swift. It was clear that his message and intention had been delivered perfectly. She knew not to push the boundary further and just leave it as it was for now. Right at this time, Su Feng suddenly heard a shout from afar. Feng, I'm over here. Speechless, Su Feng wondered what was wrong with Zhao Kai for shouting. Does he really need to shout my name? He twitched his brows. Luckily, the saving grace here was that he only called him by his first name, and it was a common one at that. If he decided to call him Su Feng, then it would have been disastrous. He had been trying to conceal his identity, but Zhao Kai nearly exposed him the first thing they met up in the Divine World. Unwilling to become the focus of attention, Su Feng stood up and rushed toward Zhao Kai, dragging him away to a discreet corner. Shush, Kai, From now on, only refer to us by username. Su Feng suddenly paused when he realized his in-game username was now somewhat popular. The game forum was filled with posts of the raid completion, along with the list of members that were in it. Anyway, just stop being so loud and attention-seeking. You don't even act like that in the real world. He sighed softly. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai scratched his head and smiled briefly. Well, I didn't mean to be attention-seeking, Feng. It's just that I felt free and alive here compared to the real world. I don't even feel the pressure that I always felt there. I suppose it's not that bad to act carefree. Su Feng suddenly said, patting on his shoulder. Just make sure to call me Feng and nothing else. I don't want others to know my identity. Gotcha, brother Feng. Zhao Kai flashed a cheeky smile and proceeded to point at himself. Call me Shadow Blade in here as well. All right, Shadow Blade who actually uses a gun and not a blade. Sometime later, the two were about to exit Oakwood Town, but were subsequently delayed upon Zhao Kai's insistence on getting some food. Brother Feng, buy me a meal? I'm starving. He acted coyly, sending a cold shiver down Su Feng's spine for his acting. Had it been a gentle and charming woman, it would have been cute, but him, with a disgusted expression, Su Feng moved away from him and asked, Didn't you just eat like a pig earlier? Yeah, but that was hours ago. My stomach is grumbling now. Zhao Kai then proceeded to rub his stomach shamelessly in front of him. Chapter 70. Redwood and exhausted, Su Feng was promptly forced to take a detour temporarily to indulge Zhao Kai in his foodie life. Despite wanting to advance further and be up ahead, he decided it was not bad to take some time to rest. Maybe if it wasn't for Zhao Kai's insistence, he would have continued his old habit of constantly working. I might have changed slightly, but I still tend to overwork myself. He smiled bitterly. The competitiveness in the divine world during his time as an upper echelon of the Reaver Guild was intense. Even just taking a small break could have resulted in deadly consequences. However, the current moment was still in the early stages, and the competition was relatively mild. Not to mention, with Zhao Kai's coy acting giving him goosebumps, Su Feng would rather feed him full than receive that kind of disgusting behavior again. Don't ever try to act coy again, or you're not getting any food. Su Feng wuna Stanley. Rest assured, you won't see that persona ever again. Zhao Kai attempted to show a solemn expression, but somehow made it comical looking with how hard he was trying. I've heard that the Redwood in here has some great specialty, so we need to go there specifically. He added, seemingly turning into a food expert. So you did research, but only on food? Su Feng was baffled. He couldn't fathom why Zhao Kai would waste his energy and time on mundane stuff that doesn't really improve one's stat and progress. As the two walked on the street, it slowly transitioned to Zhao Kai leading the way, his eyes wandering around seamlessly. He looked no different than a country bumpkin who had just gotten to a big city. Why are you acting like this? Su Feng mumbled, using his hand to cover part of his face, trying to avoid being seen. As Su Feng quietly followed behind the enthusiastic Zhao Kai, they finally arrived at Redwood Inn. Before even entering inside, Su Feng could hear numerous chattering and laughter echoing from the interior. Come on, brother Feng, let's head inside, Zhao Kai shouted once he realized Su Feng was distracted slightly. To ensure his stomach was filled, he proceeded to grab his arm and began dragging him along. Don't forget that you punched me in the face earlier. So now they'll call it, even if you pay for the food. He then whispered softly, reminding Su Feng of his earlier action. Startled, Su Feng chuckled softly as he shook his head. And here I thought you had forgotten about it. Whatever then, eat to your heart's content. Although it was a pity to waste money on food, Su Feng was going to purchase the best out of it. After all, food in the divine world can provide a buff to players as well, but they are on the more expensive side. Since it provided them with a good buff and a way to make it up to Zhao Kai, he decided to bleed a little of his money. As they entered the Redwood Inn, they were greeted by the dim lighting which cast a warm glow over the rustic wooden furniture, creating a cozy ambience. Players and NPCs clustered around tables, engaged in animated discussions, or huddled over cards and dice games. Waitstaff bustled about, weaving skillfully through the bustling crowd, delivering trays of steaming food and frothy drinks with practiced ease. These players really have no future. Su Feng thought to himself, wondering why these players even bothered playing games if they were just going to waste their time here. Alas, he could only swallow those thoughts because he was now part of these players due to being dragged by Zhao Kai. "Hello, how many people?" One of the staff greeted them. Zhao Kai flashed two of his fingers out, and with a cheeky smile, he said, "2 people, and make sure to bring out your best beverage. My brother is rich and will treat me generously." "Alrighty then, right this way, please." The staff smiled and guided them to a table closer to the window side. Given the center zone was pretty much occupied, the table near the window side was a quieter zone. Once they were seated, the menu was promptly given to the two of them. "Whoa, look at the pictures of these foods, Feng. It's like we're in a real inn and not just some game." Zhao Kai exclaimed in joy, his eyes glistening at the sight of the food picture that was tempting. "What happened to Brother Feng, Shadowblade?" Su Feng twitched his mouth, seemingly speechless at how fast his tone and attitude changed once he swindled him into the inn. "TSK, he'll call you that when we're outside." Zhao Kai waved his hand, his eyes never leaving the menu selection. "But for now, let's order these dishes. The spaghetti bolognese, Caesar salad, fish and chips, and some barbecue ribs." Drools began dripping down from his mouth as he mentioned those dishes' names. Meanwhile, Su Feng was rendered speechless completely. Not only were the dishes he ordered expensive, but they are also food that gives good buffs. Fuck, he's been playing the pig all along, but was actually a tiger. Su Feng cursed silently, having realized he was played by Zhao Kai. What naivety! What innocence! Could he be called a brainless foodie who only had food in his mind when he made such meticulous calculations? The meal altogether would cost around 1 silver coin. "Kai, you really think highly of me." Su Feng glared at him and said, not even bothering to use his alias. Zhao Kai shrugged his shoulders and flashed a smug smile. "With my understanding of you, there's no way you wouldn't have a few silver coins by now. Also, this is a good place to listen in on these players talking about recent events. It's much better than browsing through the game forum and having to filter the information ourselves." He subsequently said, pointing at another group of tables filled with players.